Hello, welcome to Miniature Realms. My name's Stuart. Armies of Great Britain is just about to arrive for bolt action, and Osprey Games have very kindly sent me an advanced copy to have a little look at. So let's take a look.
Miniature Realms is proudly sponsored by Counter-Attack Bases. They stock a wide range of counters, gaming aids and movement trays for multiple game systems and offer custom items to suit your club or even your podcast or YouTube channel. Check out the link in the video description.
Before we delve into this book, I am a casual bolt action player. I love World War II, I love painting World War II miniatures, and I like to play in a very relaxed manner at home most of the time with my son, so I don't play events. And if you're expecting some kind of crunchy breakdown of the rules compared to the previous edition, you're not going to get that from me. And you'll see from the length of this flick through video overview of the book, it's not going into that kind of detail. So if you want that kind of thing, you won't find that here. And I want to tell you that up front, but I am going to flick through, give you my overall impressions of the book. And my first impressions as a British player who's collecting and painting some British stuff at the moment, what I think of it.
So just like the previous two releases, we have this lovely new shiny glossy full colour book, and they're much posher in my opinion than the previous editions of the game. They're laid out much better. There's much more colour artwork in. This is about 110 pages. I think it's a similar size to the Armies of the US, slightly smaller than the Armies of Germany, but again very much what we've seen from the previous two releases in terms of quality. I think is excellent. As we start to delve inside the book, we've got quite a detailed content inside, not just chapter headings, but quite a good rundown of each individual unit or tank or armoured vehicle, unit entry, that kind of thing. So it's quite easy to quickly scan through and find what you're looking for. It works a little bit like an index, I suppose. As we head into the book proper, you start to see some of that lovely artwork that becomes available, I imagine, as part of the deal that Warlord Games have with Osprey Games as a publisher. And you get these pages that are straight out of the Osprey history books. You see the campaign books, the military tactics books. They're perfect for the wargamer. They really give you lots of references for painting your miniatures. And this section of the book is very much set up to give you a little bit of history around the British armies in World War II. Obviously, it's extremely light, but if you're new to the period, and there'll be many people coming to historical gaming for the first time for games like Bolt Action, also very, very useful, along with all this lovely artwork. Then we get on to the army list itself, which starts off with giving you the basics of what it is and how to use it. Very quickly we move on to the national special rules, which are the bits that really add the flavour to the army. I'm not going to offer any comparison with the previous editions for these, but I'll give a little overview of what each special rule does. I'm sure if you know Bolt Action, you'll know what they do. Fixed bayonets is a close quarters little buff, allowing you an extra dice for damage for every 3 models that you have in your army, which adds a little bit of flavour there for that sort of stiff upper lip and defend to the last feeling that's quite often told with British soldiers. Artillery support is there to represent well-coordinated batteries, allowing the player to roll 2 dice when rolling for artillery barrage or smoke barrage, and then you pick the highest result. Come on Lads represents that stiff upper lip again, and this time very much for the British officers, putting them in extreme danger, as it says, and you essentially get your morale bonus increased by 1, but the cover save goes down by 1 as well. So maybe they're standing up, waving their troops on while being full view of the enemy. For king and country, and like everything that adds flavour, this really adds a certain amount of flavour and enables you to tailor your force more to the sort of the narrative or what you're building towards historically, and it gives you the special rules that we're going to see in a moment of guards, commandos, airborne or chindits. Certain infantry and artillery units can take them, and so can some vehicles as well if they have the for king and country list or rule listed in their profile. So guards, really interesting. This rule represents the renowned guard regiments, but can also be used for other storied regiments with a strong sense of regimental tradition dating back hundreds of years. So it leaves that quite open there to use this to add flavour to your particular themes in your army. Then units must be taken as regular or veteran. Units must be given the following rule: 1 point per man, iron discipline. Any regular or veteran unit may remove 2 pin markers rather than the usual 1 if an order test is passed. Airborne units must be taken as veteran. Units must be upgraded to stubborn for 1 point per man. Any infantry unit other than the medium machine gun, medium mortar or heavy mortar teams may be equipped with bikes for 1 point per model. Commandos units must be taken as veteran. Units must be given the following rules for 3 points per man. Note, SMGs cost only 3 points if given to commandos. Tough fighters behind enemy lines when outflanking. This unit ignores the -1 modifier to the order test for coming onto the table. Independent, if a commando subsection loses its NCO, roll a dice. On a 3 or more, another model within the unit is immediately selected and to act as the unit's NCO. On a roll of a 1 or a 2, treat the subsection as having lost its NCO as normal. Commando machine gun teams, mortar teams, anti-tank teams and flamethrower teams can fire any small arms they carry if the team is not firing the main weapon. And then finally, Commando HQ teams, machine gun teams, mortar teams, anti-tank teams, sniper teams and flamethrower teams may be given the Who Dares Wins special rule. See SCS Inventory section, unit page 35 for 2 points a model to represent SAS units. And then the last one is Chindits. Units must be taken as veterans. Units must be given the following rules for 3 points per man. Behind enemy lines, see commandos above. Ambush tactics. When deployed on the table, these units may start the game on ambush. Fieldcraft. This applies to light howitzers and light anti-tank guns too, but not to other units. Then we move into the quartermaster stores before going into the bulk of the army list and all of the unit entries. Now, I'm not going to read all of these in detail. I read through the army special rules because I think at its core, that is the flavour of the book, and that is what the Forces book is about and what the British Army is about in this edition. And really kind of gives you an idea of the direction and the thought, and we've seen that with the German book and the US book as well. I know the tabletop Tommies and Cast Dice have given some more detailed rundowns of the units and things within this book. And again, like I mentioned earlier on, I wanted to keep this as a fairly brief overview, and you don't want me to sit and read the whole book to you, and nor probably do Warlord Games or Osprey Games want me to read the whole book to you as well. But that information is out there. I really like the way that it's laid out in the book. It seems to be an awful lot of different flavour and sections. There's home guard and things. There's, lots and lots of fun can be had with this book. And I imagine that you can build most of the builds you want to. That one thing to note is the absence of Commonwealth units. That is going to be a separate book. So if you're used to playing some, maybe your South African troops or your Indian troops or something like that, you'll get rules for that at a later date. I can tell you the book is absolutely packed with vehicles, be that British tanks or obviously all the US tanks as well, and the Lend-Lease stuff. There's just so much in here, and I'll definitely be looking to dive into this book in a little bit more detail. And I've also got my North African project that's been paused for quite a while, though I have got a Grant M3 tank that Warlord Games very kindly sent me, so look out for that painting tutorial coming up in the next few weeks. But I'll leave all of those army list entries now to the longer podcast, really delving into the details and the comparisons with the previous editions. That's not really what this video is about, but let's take a look at these sample armies. Now, I'm a really big fan of this section. It's something very, very simple, but maybe because I'm a simple-minded casual player. But I do like that it gives you some nice example armies, and not just one. There are multiple here. The first one is a 1,500 point Northwest Europe army. So it just gives you an idea of what your army might look like if you were a new player to the game. Give you an idea of how many miniatures you might need to collect. The next example is a British airborne force, again something that would be quite cool and many people will have seen in many films and maybe want to recreate. And again, this gives you an idea. And then we move on to a commando force, something a little bit smaller, so each of these army lists are getting slightly smaller. And then after that we also move on to a very small 750.8th army list as well. And something I mentioned in both my previous short reviews of the army books is this is perhaps my favourite thing for this edition, bizarrely, and it's the force selection guides. Just the really simple way of breaking down all those unit entries, all those army list entries into early war, mid-war and late war. It means that people running events can say it's an early war event or a mid-war event, and it limits your selections to match that, so it's adding a little bit of historical accuracy to a game that's also played competitively as well. I quite like that, and I like to build lists themey. So when I'm looking at a particular tank or something, I very often will go and see what theatre it was available in, and this kind of helps a little bit with that as well. And that's it. We're at the end of the book. You'll see that Sergeant Sawyer is again there in the book, which is really cool. And then you flick the page and you got your final credits. But I think this is really cool. I've got quite a few army ideas in mind. Just need the time to do them now, but let me know what you think.
Well, thank you very much again to Osprey for sending this book ahead of time, and thanks very much for watching. Hope you found it useful one way or another. And like I said right at the start of it, it's an overview video from a very casual player rather than a crunchy review of rules changes from one edition to the other, or from the basic get you buy list to the official thicker book. That's not really my focus on bolt action and the way I play it. It's all about painting miniatures and having miniatures on the table for a cool, relaxed game, and that's perfect for me, and bolt action works perfectly for that. And I know a lot of people game like that as well, so hopefully that sort of resonates with you and the style of video I made. Look out for more bolt action content coming up soon in the way of a couple of painting videos as well, around British themed, so look out for those if you like my painting videos. And if you have enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, drop a comment below, subscribe to the channel, and then check out my Patreon if you'd like to support me a little bit further. It's a really good way of helping me able to afford to make more and more videos and increase my kind of content spread across different game systems. I've got so many things I'd like to do. I can only really do all of those things if I'm able to afford to put the time into making that content. So if you'd like to see more stuff like that, supporting me on Patreon, it's absolutely a great way of doing that. Check out all the other links in my video description as well, including the channel sponsor Counter Attack Bases. But thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you soon.